Well, hello and welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. I'm Todd Craighead. For a hunter, the displaying of taxidermy work is usually the crown jewel of a wonderful memory. It can represent the effort and possibly unique circumstances involved in the hunt, and of course, a lot of pride for the hunter. Today, we'll visit with two taxidermists who have helpful advice for getting the most out of our mounts. First up, let's learn about an increasingly popular and creative way for displaying a European mount, using a method called hydrodipping.
When I first started doing taxidermy, we didn't do hydrographics. We just did plain white skulls, and then I had a friend show me a video of it, and we thought, wow, that's cool. So we actually started doing it and played by trial and error, messed up a lot more than what we got correct. But we kind of evolved and got better at it each time. And it's kind of real funny to think about just doing just a basic shoulder mount to when I first started to doing hydrographics, what the technology and the difference is and different options it gives you. In 10 or 20 years, who knows what they'll have out there that we can do. But it's always fun to try the new things and try to give the best availability to our customers. Whenever we get a skull to hydro dip, there are several steps that we have to do. The first step would be taping off the antlers of some sort. We use electrical tape with press and seal. Okay, so now that we got the antlers completely covered up, you can see we did the electrical tape and then we overlapped with the press and seal, so the antlers are completely covered up. We're going to go to the next step. We're going to paint this, the base coat. This one will be pink because it's Muddy Girl camo, so it'll need a pink base coat. So the next step is to paint. Okay, when we get ready to dip, I always open up the door because the activator is pretty potent and it's just a good way of venting it outside and the air. So we're gonna lay the film in the water here. I'm gonna hit my timer and we'll let it go for a minute and then we'll spray it with activator and we'll dip it in. And that's what it looks like after it's dipped. Okay, this skull's been sitting for a few minutes in the sink. I've went ahead and cut some film for the next few skulls. So at this point, we're gonna rinse this off. What this rinse is doing, there's a product in the activator that leaves it slimy, and it'll be sticky, so the clear won't adhere to it correctly. So we have to rinse that off, and it takes a few minutes. I've left them sitting up to 15 minutes. The longer you leave it sit, the longer it's going to take to rinse off. I rinse it with cold water. You can rinse it with warm. You don't want to get warmer water than what's in your tank. And I keep my tank water at 92 degrees. So I always just rinse it with cold water. And then every now and then, if I'm in a hurry, I might make it a little bit warm. But when that stops, I kind of know that's about how when it's done. Or I can feel. Okay, so at this point, we're pretty much done. It's rinsed off. So we're going to take it outside and let it dry. The sun will dry it off, and then it'll be ready for clear coat. Okay, as you can see, these are all dipped. They're out here drying on the outside. This is pretty much the finished product. At this point, I'll just peel the press and seal off the tape. I'll go back in and I'll airbrush the underneath side to match any spots on top that I see that might need a little bit with the airbrush, and then we'll clear coat it. So at that point, it's going to look like this. This is the finished product. It's got a clear coat on it, and then you can see that I airbrushed the back side and the top side to blend it in. Inside the eyes and the nose, and that's the finished product.
Up next, bird taxidermy can sometimes be tricky and come with its own unique set of hurdles. We'll now visit with a taxidermist who specializes in birds with advice on how to care for your future mounts in the field and at home before you get them to your taxidermist.
Waterfowling has always been a passion of mine. I started duck and goose hunting back in the 90s, and pretty quickly wanted a few things on the wall, so I decided I wanted to try my hand at taxidermy. Been doing it on my own for 15, 16, 17 years, and there are a few tips from a hunter's perspective that would help you get the best product or bird specimen on your wall. Choosing the right bird to have mounted is, there's a lot of different reasons to do that. One might be that it's sentimental or some kind of a milestone bird for you. The first thing that I look for when I'm choosing a bird to mount and put on the wall, the first thing I do is look at the primary feathers. If I have in mind that I would like to have a flying bird mounted on my wall, I'm looking to see how well all of these feathers are going to look if they are spread out on the wall. If they're extremely shot up, if I have broken secondaries or primaries, or I've got holes all through the wing feathers, I may not want to choose this bird to be in a flying position, or maybe not this bird at all if this isn't some kind of a sentimental bird for me. If the wings look good, I move on to the feet. The feet don't have to be perfect, but if you have 6, 7, 8 pellet holes in each foot or a foot, or you have a significant break in the middle of the bone where it has a compound fracture, bone is sticking out, those feet may not turn out that well. There's some things that a taxidermist can do to patch it. You can wire it, you can use 2-part epoxies and all kinds of stuff to repair them. But if this isn't a sentimental bird for me, if these feet are completely shot off, I'm going to choose a different bird. Or more advanced kind of aspect of this is if you had another speckle belly, you wanted this one mounted, this feet are shot up, you could save the feet off of another bird that you had taken, and you can transfer the feet. That's a little advanced. You don't have to do that, but that's another thing that I look at. A lot of people will look at a head of a bird, and if the beak or certain parts of the head are shot too significantly, they think that it's not a good bird to mount, and then they'll go ahead and clean it and save it to eat. Most bird taxidermists will use artificial heads. So you can see if this bill was completely shot off, it wouldn't necessarily matter. What some bird taxidermists do is they will cut around this feather line, use the artificial head, so this head is in perfect condition. In the field, once I've chosen the bird that I would like to have mounted, there's a few do's and don'ts that is probably worth mentioning for you in the field. If you want to protect the feathers, pantyhose is not the way to do it. Pantyhose actually does much more damage to the bird than it helps. It's kind of an old wives' tale that stockings or nylons help keep the feathers in place. You can see that some of these feathers aren't in the live condition. However, I'm going to turn this wing inside out 2, 3, maybe more times. I don't necessarily care if these feathers are kept in place riding home in a truck. It doesn't matter if the wind is on it. I probably wouldn't put it on the bed rails of a pickup, but down in the bed of a pickup, in the toolbox, in the back seat, or simply putting it in a trash bag would be fine on the ride home. Once you get the bird to your house, there's a few things that I prefer, methods that I prefer that really help keep the bird in prime condition over a long period of storage in the freezer. My experience as a taxidermist, mostly doing my own birds in this manner, I've found that this is the best way to keep the skin on your feet healthy and moisturized, keep moisture in the head around this area where you skin so that it doesn't freeze or burn. I like to protect it with wet paper towels. So at your home, if you're going to put your bird in the freezer for storage, my recommendation is taking one paper towel, wrapping it around the feet and around the beak where the feathers, make sure that you get where the feathers meet the bill. Get those paper towels around those 2 points and wet them down. If you have a sink nearby, that's a lot more efficient than this, but by soaking these paper soaking the paper towels and putting it in the freezer, what it does is it protects your skin in a layer of ice. And then whenever you get this bird to the taxidermist, as it's thawing out, being prepared to skin, all of that moisture from the ice is put back into the skin. So a taxidermist, it doesn't matter if you have your bird wrapped well, it doesn't matter if this bird is 5 days old, 5 years old, the feet are going to be in this condition if they are wrapped this way and properly wrapped where air doesn't get to the bird. My recommendation for that is if the bird will fit, if it'll fit in a 1 gallon Ziploc bag, I recommend the freezer Ziplocs, not the storage. But the freezer, if it's a small enough bird, a teal, a wood duck, something like that, it'll fit in a 1 gallon bag. Put it in the bag after you've wrapped the head and the feet. Get all the air out that you can and throw it into another Ziploc. That's all you need to do. That's really the best long-term storage you can get. If it's something like a goose, what I'll do is I'll wrap it in at least 2 trash bags. I'll put it in one, roll it, get all the air out, and throw it in a second one. I have used Walmart sacks. I've told other folks that I have a pair of canvas backs that I've had in the freezer since 2005. They're in 5 Walmart sacks. I recently just opened them up to look at them, and it looks like I killed them earlier this year. So that is sufficient to store them in. Many layers protecting from the air in your freezer will keep your bird from being frostbitten and give you the best specimen that you can give a taxidermist. Maybe the most important part of storage is ensuring that this head is tucked away properly. I've had folks bring birds to me that have been frozen with the neck straight out like this, and one bird in particular was dropped and it broke the entire neck off. So once this bone and skin is frozen, it's very susceptible to damage. So what you'll want to do is take that head and just bring it alongside the body, tuck it inside this wing, and lock it up like so. If the neck is not so flexible and won't let you tuck it inside the wing, you can wrap it over just lay it over the back if you'd like to, freeze it like that. We just want to make sure that that neck isn't laid out so it can be susceptible to breaking. And lastly, there's some information that you need to bring to your waterfowl taxidermist. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will regulates migratory birds, and they have the ability to audit a waterfowl taxidermist logbook. So when you show up to your taxidermist with waterfowl specifically, you need to bring a few bits of information with you. The information that they will need to keep with the bird is your name, your license number, maybe most importantly, address, phone number. Then they'll write down the species. The date of harvest and location of harvest are 2 important pieces. And what may be a good idea is whenever you put your bird in storage, it may be a good idea to wrap it in blue painter's tape or duct tape, whatever, the trash bag, and put the date of the harvest on that. That will help you and your taxidermist be able to nail down that bit of information pretty quickly. With a little preparation and care in the field, you can help ensure that you have a beautiful mount and memory that you can preserve for a lifetime.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. For all of us at your wildlife department, I'm Todd Craighead. We'll see you right back here next time on Outdoor Oklahoma.